Welcome to this week's edition of Ask GMBN. It's almost the end of our Whistler trip and we are going to answer all your mountain bike questions.
Right, let's kick this one off with a question from Vodster. Last weekend I had a couple of crashes in the bike park which really made me think you should do a video on how to crash properly. Should we do that?
Maybe you can volunteer yourself.
I'm pretty good at crashing, yes, that's true.
But I've never actually planned a crash.
That is true. Yes, we are definitely going to make a video about this, but I think crashing, you don't really want to go out and practice it. You will get better at it, I think, by riding more and crashing more. You learn to roll out things a little bit better, but having said that, I wouldn't go out there and practice it.
No.
Right, next question, Matt S. Wow, that was a long lift ride, talking about last week's Ask GMBN. Question is, how many full runs does the average Whistler rider take before calling it on a given day?
That's a tough one because there's so many different lifts in Whistler. We did an epic ride right from the top of the world all the way back down into Creekside, and it was about 1,500 meters of descending. So if you did that once a day, you're doing pretty well.
That was super technical, took us about 3 hours with a bit of filming, I guess, but yeah, one of those is pretty big. But in the bike park, people ride all day. The next question comes from Shanksy MC. To gain muscle, is it better to go on long rides or short sprint rides?
That's a bit of a tough one. I guess both work well for you. It all comes down to how much you're eating. But I guess those short, real sharp, powerful rides are the ones that are really going to build that muscle.
Yeah, really short, really hard rides, going to build your legs for sure. Boboy235, why are my handlebars harder to steer left than to steer right? I would say that's probably almost certainly down to cables. If your headset was a bit messed up, then it would be the same both ways. So I think you've probably got one of your cables too tight, so maybe your rear brake isn't letting you turn the bar the whole way, something like that. Right, next one comes from Shubham Loshali. My rear wheel doesn't rotate freely. I've checked the brakes already, what else could be the reason?
Could be the bearings in the hub have gone. The free hub's a little bit worn out as well. You can maybe take that all apart, give it a bit of a clean up, even maybe potentially have to put new bearings in as well.
And you should definitely check out our video on how to service your bearings. You'll feel some roughness in them, so give them a spin. If you can feel any sort of friction in there, it's a good sign that they'll need a bit of grease and a bit of work. Also, give them a wobble. Bearings get worn out just by normal use, but what really kills them is getting water and grit into them. So the best way of keeping them fresh and spinning for longer is keeping them clean and stopping that dirt from getting into them. Johnny Young husband. Can you help? When pedaling over flat bumpy terrain with dips and bumps at speed, my back wheel keeps jumping up. I'm balanced on the bike and fine when not putting power down and cycling hard. I'm on a hardtail, by the way.
I guess that could come down to tyre pressure. A lot of people really think on cross-country bikes, when they're trying to get the maximum efficiency, they should put the tyres absolutely rock hard so they fly along. However, this isn't always the case. You do need to get some grip, and the tyre really just moves on the bumps. It can really almost work like, I wouldn't say suspension, but it definitely dampens some of those sort of lighter hits that's maybe causing that bob that you're getting.
And I guess it's probably the biggest disadvantage of a hardtail is trying to pedal over rough stuff. You are going to bounce around a little bit. Clipless pedals can help, so you're not on flats bouncing around, but yeah, you will bounce a little bit. Okay, next one comes from Sarthak Bardwaj. Why don't mountain bikers use grip shifts on their bike? Some people still do, some cross countries do. I used to, never really liked it because I found when I was moving around on the bike, you'd end up shifting by mistake. So I guess they're not very popular.
Yeah, especially in some of those really hard compressions that you definitely get when you're racing downhill or even enduro as well. You could go down and shift up either way, take a pedal, slip a chain, and you could actually go over the bars if you slip a chain that bad.
Felix wants to know how you can tell if his bike is tubeless. He's got a bit of white dry paste on some area of his rims. Does that mean they're tubeless?
Not necessarily, but there is a high chance. That white stuff that you're probably talking about could be dried on sealant or even latex. I guess a good way that you could check is to have a look at the actual valve itself. You're probably going to know if you actually unwind the, I don't know what you'd call it, the little
like a little
thing.
Lock nut.
Yeah, and you pop the valve down a little bit and a little bit of air seeps out. That's definitely tubeless, so just be careful not to lose any air and lose the tyre sealing as well.
Or get over your laziness and just let the tyre down and have a look inside. That's my top tip. You should check out our video on how to fit tubeless tyres. Step one is taking off your tyre and tube to get down to the rim, where we're going to need to put a tape on there to convert it to tubeless. tyre and tube are off, you probably want to keep that tube as a spare anyway, because although you're taking away any risk of puncturing by pinching that tube, you might end up putting a little hole in that tyre, which means that tyre isn't going to seal once it's tubeless. So keep a spare tube anyway. And let's go! Let's quick fire round. Kute Selic, would a Canyon Strive be able to ride downhill?
Yeah, for sure. I ride mine on downhill tracks, bike parks all the time. It's an absolutely wicked bike.
The 802 man, my chain slips when I put a lot of power in the highest gear. Is there any way to fix it?
Yeah, become less powerful. Or you could actually just check that your chain's not worn.
I would say it's worn out, you probably need to replace it. Alyssa Dowell, 27.5 or 29 for big jumps?
Probably 27.5 for big jumps, I'd say. You see a lot of the freeriders even using 26-inch wheels, can you believe?
29 is slightly less strong, I'd say, so yeah, for big jumps, smaller wheels. Legend 11 MTB. There's a few spokes in my back wheel that I can feel movement in when I wiggle them. Do I need to take action now, or is it okay to leave for a while?
Take action now.
Yeah, you're gonna have like a weak spot on your wheel if you leave them, so that could potentially mean you fold your wheel. Alex Sweetman, do you have to have a good quality and more expensive bike to be a really good rider?
Not necessarily. I mean, you can get your base level skills even on a hardtail. That's why I started out riding. And then as you become more into the sport, you can definitely make a bigger investment.
I'd say, higher quality bikes will probably be more reliable, if anything, so that's good, when you get better. Iden Schmidt, is it all right for a cassette to have a little side-to-side movement between the sections?
No, you should.
Tight, isn't it?
Yeah, you should definitely check out how to fit a cassette video. It might be that you're missing just a spacer or something like that, so definitely have a look at that one.
Jim, which should I learn first, the wheelie or the manual? I would say the wheelie.
Really?
It's going to give you a good feel for where the balance point is, and that's going to be really helpful when you go on to learn to manual.
Get really good at them and then you can do the manual.
Hey, really good pun.
Okay, it's now time for Correct Me If I'm Wrong. So it's that time where you can send in a mountain bike video to us. We'll have a look at you and give you some tips.
Okay, so the first one comes from Guy in Israel. Let's take a look. Hitting a pretty big drop off. Oh, there's a tree there, Guy. The drop-off technique looks pretty good actually, really smooth, good landing, just ride straight into a tree.
I guess the key to this could really be investigating the drop-off, the run-out as well, and of course keeping that head up, looking in the direction that you're going, not down at the ground, and making sure that you run out clearly and into the next section.
It's definitely a problem with drop-offs and scary obstacles. People want to look down at that because it's scary, but actually it's the thing that's after that catches you out. That's it for another edition of Ask GMBN.
Whilst you're here, why don't you watch some more videos from us? So if you click just down here, you're going to get to Jackson Goldstone's 5 favourite trails in Whistler.
And click over here for how to ride blind drops.
Don't forget to click on that big logo, which will be somewhere just about there, to subscribe, and you get a great video every day of the week.
Thumbs up if you enjoyed this video.